President Bashir Assad of Syria has unleashed his security forces and Alawi sympathisers on the Sunni and Shia communities of, of Syria, sending tanks and security forces and armed militias and tribes into the city of Dera. Much like Gaddafi, he is slaughtering his own people just to cling on by his fingernails to power. The Ba'athist regime, like Gaddafi's regime, is a secular regime but based around tribal and religious loyalties. The Alawis, for instance, are a Muslim sect who stoked up violence against Sunni pro-Sunni militias in Lebanon when Syria occupied Lebanon. They've also got a strong alliance with Iran, the Shia Iran. So the Alawis and Shias have grouped together on this, but the secular democratic revolution that is going on in Syria is not about religion, in my view. It is about democratic, basic human rights, about natural rights, the rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the possession of property in a property-owning democracy. What the people on the streets of Syria want is democracy and bread. They want the means to live a life. And as somebody said to me, the people have been over into the West and they've seen what the West is like, and they've seen how dictatorships in the Middle East are not allowing people to have the basic necessities of life. So the dictators have to go. The US has said a similar thing, that intervention is possible in Syria and sanctions are likely. Now, if sanctions come, will we see an intervention on the Libya scale, or is the sensitivities with Israel on the border with Syria just too strong, a block to Western intervention? I hope it is not. But the border to Jordan has already been sealed off by the Syrian government, and the depravity of their security forces, or brutality forces I would call them, has already been shown when they killed 100 people in one day over the weekend and then shot into the people's funerals. How sick do you have to be to do that? Using tear gas and tanks. This shows that the Syrian military was always developed for the prosecution of war on its own people more than anything on the prosecution of war against the Israelis, which they probably know from their dilapidated tanks that they would lose. Therefore, they use proxies such as Hezbollah to prosecute their war against Israel. But what is certain is the EU cannot tolerate this so close to its own borders. Syria has a border with Turkey. Turkey has the means to intervene. Will the European Union say to Turkey, send the Leopard 2 tanks in over the border? Turkey has a German-based armed forces, a very powerful NATO country. NATO therefore has a direct border with Syria. Is this the start of what Niall Ferguson called the mega war of the Middle East, which could descend into tribal and ethnic and religious conflicts? Well, he said a similar mega war happened in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but he argued, and I do not agree with him in this instance, that it was a much lower stakes in the Congo. Well, 5 million people died, Niall Ferguson. So, to me, those were quite high stakes. But the stakes in the Middle East, I agree with him, would be much higher. The population is larger. The resources and what is at stake is larger. The world's oil reserves are at stake in the Middle East. Democracy is at stake in the Middle East. When are we going to realise that this is some global, not only a Arabic awakening, but a global awakening of democracy? We should seize this chance now to save a generation from hardship, humiliation, and genocide from the clutches of evil dictators such as Assad Bashir, and also the feudalistic crime families of the Bin Ladens and Saudis who may take a role in this if we do not intervene soon. It's easy for me to say, since I have picked up a rifle only over a short period of military experience. What can we say about the protection of our own troops from harm? We're already in three major wars, two to do with the legacy of 9/11 in Afghanistan and against the Bin Laden crime family and Saudi crime families of Saudi Arabia, and we may have to intervene in Yemen if Yemen becomes destabilised as well. Here in Yemen, they have used the same tactics that Bashir has used, although the army is officially split between the pro-democracy protesters and the president. This is a dangerous concoction for Yemen because the country is split from east to west between pro-Iranian and pro-Saudi Arabian forces, and from north to east between Houthi rebels and pro-democracy forces. So basically, only Sana'a is under the control of the government. So Yemen, like Somalia, is a basket case country. Could Syria follow the same direction? Well, Syria was once an Arab superpower, but has now been replaced in the league table, I would say, by a democratic, possibly democratic Egypt. Although the army still holds on to power there and is still locking people up. The protesters, though, continue to put pressure on the military government in Egypt to get full democracy, and I hope that this is the direction that follows to a true democratic republic in the Middle East. Because in my view, if God does exist, and I'm an agnostic or not, God or the land is a free commodity. Nobody has a claim to it other than the people. The government cannot just say this is our land. What we need is property owning democracy, and the only king in this world is God or not. It's either God or evolution, people. So let as people said, let them show their receipts from God or not, the government that is. And that's about as religious as I'm ever going to get. So on this channel. So I hope that democracy will continue in the Middle East, continue its pace, and continue a peaceful march to democracy rather than this bloodbath that's happening in Damascus. Let's not see the decimation of the people of Damascus as we've seen in Misrata in Libya, which luckily the rebels have now achieved a victory and will now perhaps push on to Tripoli if the West has the conviction and will shown by the people of Misrata, which will surely happen. We just need the means to do it. And hopefully with the EU and the US combining together, there's perhaps a little force on earth that can stop them, helping the democracies of the fledgling Middle East and the Middle Eastern Union and North African Union from emerging and becoming fully part of the Western world, the secular world, the world of reason. Through reason let there come order, and from order let there come peace and prosperity. Thank you for listening.